In the architecture of espionage, failure is not a random event. It is a structural element. For an organization as formidable and opaque as Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, the ISI, there is no manual for how to die. There is only a doctrine for how to operate, how to influence, how to prevail. We set out to analyze the lethal errors made by its operatives at every level of the chain of command. What we found was not a pattern of simple textbook mistakes in tradecraft. Instead, the evidence points to a far more chilling operational reality. A reality of ruthless counter-espionage and of a system where the line between incompetence, strategic sacrifice, and outright betrayal becomes functionally non-existent. We are told that spies are caught because of one critical mistake. But what if the mistake is believing in the system that sent you? The failure of invisibility. To understand this pattern, we must begin at the bottom of the hierarchy. Not with a uniformed officer, but with an asset on the periphery. An individual who operates in the gray spaces between nations and criminal enterprise. An individual like Mirza Dilshad Beg. To the public, Beg was a Nepalese politician, a member of parliament. He was born in India but had established a political career in Nepal. Beneath this public veneer, however, Indian intelligence agencies constructed a different narrative. They considered him a key figure with deep links to the Dawood Ibrahim crime syndicate and, they alleged, a crucial facilitator for Pakistan's ISI. His official status has never been confirmed, but this allegation forms the basis of his legend. Kathmandu has long been a crossroads of intrigue. For years it was alleged that Beg was a master of this domain. His cover was not a deep, fabricated identity. It was his legitimate, high-profile political career. This, according to Indian intelligence, gave him the political insurance to run a network, allegedly moving men and materiel across the porous India-Nepal border. In the traditional calculus of espionage, an ideal clandestine asset is a ghost. Mirza Dilshad Beg was a public figure. He was, by his very nature, visible. And in the world of shadows, to be visible is to be a target. The mistake, then, was one of profile. His greatest strength, his public power, was also his most profound vulnerability. The end came on the night of June 29, 1998. As Beg approached a residence in Kathmandu, gunmen ambushed him in a professional, merciless execution. Soon after, a claim of responsibility emerged from an unexpected quarter. Chota Rajan, a rival gangster to Dawood Ibrahim, reportedly admitted to orchestrating the hit, framing it as a patriotic act to stop Beg from spreading terror in India. So, what was the operational failure here? Beg's death wasn't the result of a botched dead drop. It was the result of his visibility. His political power and alleged underworld connections made him a target for enemy gangsters and, by extension, hostile intelligence agencies who might use them as proxies. His death highlights a terrifying axiom of intelligence work on the periphery. Was his death simply a loss? Or was it, from a cold, strategic perspective, the acceptable cost of doing business? An asset who becomes too visible, too entangled in public feuds, can be seen by his handlers as a liability. His elimination, whether by a rival gang or a counterintelligence operation, quiets the noise. This is the first lesson. At the lowest rungs, your life is not an asset to be protected at all costs. It is a variable in a much larger and much more brutal equation. The failure of sanctuary. If the death of a peripheral asset can be analyzed as a calculated risk, what happens when an operative is neutralized in the one place they should be safest, their own sanctuary? This brings us higher up the chain to the level of handlers and the systems designed to protect valuable assets. And it brings us to the city of Lahore. This is the case of Paramjit Singh Panjwar. Panjwar was the chief of the Khalistan Commando force, a militant group, and a man wanted in India for a string of terrorist acts. Since the 1990s, he had reportedly been living in Pakistan, a safe haven from which he allegedly continued to operate. For decades, he was an untouchable ghost, living proof of something India has long alleged, that the ISI was actively harboring anti-India militants on Pakistani soil. Then, on a morning in May 2023, the ghost was seen. Panjwar was taking a morning walk near his home in Lahore. Unidentified assailants on a motorcycle drove by, and Panjwar was shot and killed. Let us analyze this from a counterintelligence perspective. The assassination is a classic of the genre, exploiting the single most common vulnerability of any human target: routine. A morning walk. For a patient surveillance team, routine is a gift. It allows them to map a target's life and choose the perfect time and place to strike. The mistake here, therefore, does not belong to Panjwar alone. It belongs to the system alleged to have been protecting him. When an intelligence agency shelters a high-value asset, operational security is paramount. It is the handler's function to ensure the asset does not fall into predictable patterns. Routes should be varied, timings randomized. The entire concept of a morning walk should be forbidden. The fact that Panjwar was killed in such a predictable manner, in the relative safety of Lahore, points to two deeply disturbing possibilities. The first is one of staggering incompetence. It suggests a hostile agency was able to operate freely in a major Pakistani city, conduct surveillance, and execute a flawless assassination without being detected. For a premier intelligence agency, this would be a humiliating failure of counter-espionage on its home turf. But there is a second, far more terrifying hypothesis our investigation kept pointing towards. What if it wasn't a mistake? What if the asset had outlived his usefulness? In this scenario, the failure of operational security is not an accident. It is a message. The protection is quietly withdrawn. The predictable routine is allowed to continue. The asset is, in effect, served up. His death removes an inconvenient piece from the board and allows the sponsoring agency plausible deniability. Panjwar's death, therefore, transcends simple error. It represents a potential choice between protecting an asset and serving a larger, unspoken strategic interest. This brings us to a chilling midpoint, a level where the failure to protect you might not be a failure at all, but a feature of the system. The failure of integrity. We have seen how an asset can be expendable on the periphery and vulnerable in the heartland. But to find the ultimate expression of this reality, we must go to the very top of the chain of command and to a compound in the Pakistani garrison city of Abbottabad, the home of Osama bin Laden. The official story of the May 2011 raid is one of American unilateral action. The CIA, through detective work, located bin Laden and sent in Navy SEALs, all without Pakistan's knowledge. However, for years, a persistent and deeply controversial counter-narrative has been advanced by sources including the investigative journalist Seymour Hersh. It is crucial to state that this version of events is fiercely contested, uncorroborated, and denied by the White House. But as a thought experiment in systemic failure, it provides the final, devastating piece of our analytical puzzle. According to this alternative account, the CIA did not find bin Laden. They were told where he was. The information came from a walk-in, a senior Pakistani military officer who volunteered the information that the ISI had been holding bin Laden as a prisoner since 2006. The price was a substantial portion of the $25 million reward. While Hearst did not name the officer, later unverified media speculation in Pakistan identified a Brigadier Usman Khalid. Let us dissect the alleged mistake at this level. The paramount responsibility of any intelligence agency's leadership is to maintain the integrity of its own ranks. The allegation that a brigadier in the Pakistani military could walk into a CIA station and sell the location of the century's biggest intelligence prize is not just a failure of vetting. It is a systemic implosion. It suggests that at the highest echelons, loyalty is not an absolute, but a commodity. It turns the chain of command into a marketplace. Whether the ISI was hiding bin Laden, as Hirsch's contested account alleges, or was simply unaware of his presence, the core mistake was creating a vulnerability so massive that it could be exploited by a single act of betrayal. The failure wasn't in underestimating the Americans, it was in overestimating the loyalty of their own commanders. This case, more than any other, reveals the terrifying reality our investigation uncovered. It's a reality where the very concept of a mistake becomes almost meaningless. The deaths we examined at the lower levels now appear in a new, more sinister light. If loyalty at the top is allegedly for sale, what is the value of a life at the bottom? The asset in Nepal is eliminated because he is a liability. The militant in Lahore is exposed because his utility has expired. And the secret in Abbottabad is sold because it is worth more in dollars than in honor. Each mistake is, in fact, a transaction. For more deep dives into the realities of intelligence and special operations, subscribe to the channel. And let us know in the comments, what other intelligence failures or operations do you believe warrant a similar dissection? We began this analysis looking for a linear pattern of failure in tradecraft. What we found is something far more corrosive. The trail did not lead to a series of identifiable errors. It led to a moral vacuum. At level 1, we found Mirza Dilshad Beg, an asset whose public profile made him fatally exposed, a disposable piece in a game of crime and espionage, a failure of invisibility. At level 2, we saw Paramjit Singh Panjwar, a militant asset allowed to fall into a routine, suggesting a complacency so profound it borders on complicity, a failure of sanctuary. And at level 3, we confronted the contested but terrifying narrative of the bin Laden raid, a story of ultimate betrayal, where a senior officer allegedly sold a national secret, revealing a system potentially rotted from the top, a failure of integrity. The fatal mistake, it appears, is the same at every rank. It is the mistake of believing you are an indispensable part of a righteous cause. The terrifying reality is that in this brutal game, everyone is expendable. The chain of command is not just a structure for giving orders, it can be a mechanism for managing liabilities. The operatives who get killed are not always the ones who make a mistake. They are often the ones whose deaths become more valuable to the system, or to a single person within it, than their lives. This is the grim logic of modern intelligence. Hostile agencies are not just waiting for you to make an error. They're waiting for your own side to leave you vulnerable. In this great game, is the most dangerous enemy the one across the border, or the one standing behind you in the chain of command?